हर सद्गुरु भगवान मुक्तानंद मेरे गुरु भगवान जय सद्गुरु Guru ऋङ्काररहस्ययुक्ता शृङ्कारगुदा तमः विभूत्या ओङ्कारमर्मा प्रतिपादिनीभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां होत्राग्निहोत्रा घिनविषहोतु होमादिसर्वा कृतिभासमानम् यद्ब्रह्म तद्बोधवितारिणीभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां कामादिसर्प व्रजगारुदाभ्यां विवेकवैराग्यनिधिप्रदाभ्यां बोधाप्रदाभ्यां धृतमोक्षदाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्याम् अनन्तसंसारसमुद्रतार नौकायिताभ्यां स्थिरभक्तिदाभ्यां जार्यादिसंशोषणवादवाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्याम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ अस्या श्रीगुरुगीतास्तोत्रमन्त्रस्य भगवान् सदाशिवऋषिः नानाविधानि छन्दांसि श्रीगुरुपरमात्मा देवताम् हम बीजं सह शक्तिः क्रों कीलकं श्रीगुरुप्रसाद सिद्ध्यर्थे जपे विनियोग अथ ध्यानम् हंसाभ्यां परिवृत्तपत्रकमले देवे जगत्कारणे विश्वोत्कीर्णमनेकदेहनिलये सचण्डमात्मे च या तद्योतं पदसम्भवं तु चरणं दीपाङ्कुराग्राहिणं प्रत्यक्षासर्वविग्रहं गुरुपदं ध्यायेद्विभुं शाश्वतम् सुत उवाच कैलासशिखरे रम्ये भक्तिसन्धाननायकं प्रणम्य पार्वती भक्त्या शङ्करं परिपृच्छति श्रीदेवी उवाच ॐ नमो देवदेवेश परात्पर जगद्गुरु सदाशिव महादेव गुरुदीक्षां ददेहि मे केन मार्गेण भो स्वामिन् देहि ब्रह्ममयो भवेत् तं कृपां कुरु मे स्वामिन् नमामि चरणौ तव ईश्वर उवाच मम रूपासि देवे त्वं त्वत्प्रीत्यार्थं वदाम्यहम् लोकोपकारका प्रश्नो न केनापि कृता पुरा दुर्लभं तेषु लोकेषु तच्छृणुष्व वदाम्यहम् गुरुं विना ब्रह्मणन्यत् सत्यं सत्यं वरानने वेदशास्त्रपुराणानि इतिहासादिकानि च मन्त्रयन्त्रादिविद्याश्च स्मृति उच्चाटनादिकम् शैवशाक्तागमादीनि अन्यानि गुरुस्थितं तथैव च गुरुतत्त्वमभिज्ञाय मूढासे चरति जनाम् गुरुबुद्ध्यात्मनो नान्यत् सत्यं सत्यं न संशयः तल्लभयतं प्रयत्नस्तु कर्तव्यो हि मनीषिभिः गुरुविद्या जगन्माया देहे चाज्ञानसम्भवा उदयो यत्प्रकाशेन गुरुशब्देन कथ्यते सर्वपापविशुद्धात्मा श्रीगुरुपादसेवना देहि ब्रह्मा भवेद्यस्मात् तत्कृपार्थं वदामि ते गुरुपादं भुजं स्मृत्वा जलं शिरसि धारये सर्वतीर्थावगाहस्य सम्प्राप्नोति फलं नरः शोषणं पापपङ्कस्य दीपानं ज्ञानतेजसां गुरुपादोदकं संयाः संसारानवतारकम् अज्ञानमूलहरणं जन्मकर्मानिवारणं ज्ञानवैराग्यसिद्ध्यर्थं गुरुपादोदकं पिबेत् गुरुपादोदकं पीत्वा गुरु उच्छिष्टभोजनं गुरुमूर्तेः सदा ध्यानं गुरुमन्त्रं सदा जपेत् काशीक्षेत्रतन्निवासो जाह्नवीचरणोदकं गुरुविश्वेश्वरा साक्षात् तारकं ब्रह्म निश्चितम् गुरुपादोदकं यत्तु गया सोक्षयोवतः तीर्थराजा प्रयागश्च गुरुमूर्ति नमो नमः गुरुमूर्तिं स्मरे नित्यं गुरुनाम सदा जपे गुरुराज्ञं प्रकुर्वीता गुरुरन्यं न भावयेत् गुरुवक्तासितं ब्रह्मा प्राप्यते तत्प्रसादता गुरुध्यानं सदा कुर्यात् तुलसी सप्रथेयथा स्वाश्रमं च सजान्तिं च सकीर्तिपुष्टिवर्धनम् एतत् सर्वं परित्यज्य गुरुरन्यं न भावयेत् अनन्यश्चिन्तयन्तो मां सुलभं परमं पदम् तस्मात् सर्वप्रयत्नेन गुरुराराधनं कुरु त्रैलोके स्फुतवक्तारो देवाद्यासुरपन्नगा गुरुभक्त्यासिता विद्या गुरुभक्त्या तु लभ्यते गोकारस्तन्धकारश्च ऋकारस्तेज उच्यते अज्ञानग्रासकं ब्रह्मा गुरुरेव न संशयः गोकारः प्रथमो वर्णो मायादिगुणभाषका ऋकार द्वितीयो ब्रह्मा मायाभ्रान्तिविनाशनम् एवं गुरुपदं श्रेष्ठं देवानामपि दुर्लभम् आहूगणे चैव गन्धर्वै च प्रपूज्यते ध्रुवं तेषां च सर्वेषां नास्ति तत्त्वं गुरुपरम् आसनं शयनं वस्त्रं भूषणं वाहनादिकम् साधकेन प्रदातव्यं गुरुसन्तोषकारकम् गुरु आराधनं कार्यं सजीवितं निवेदयेत् कर्मणा मनसा वाचा नित्यमाराधयेत् गुरुं दीर्घदण्डं नमस्कृत्य निर्लजो गुरुसन्निधो शरीरम् इन्द्रियं प्राणं सद्गुरुभ्यो निवेदयेत् आत्मदानादिकं सर्वं सद्गुरुभ्यो निवेदयेत् कृमिकीटा भस्मविष्ठा दुर्गन्धिमलमूत्रकं श्लेष्मरक्तं त्वचामंशं वञ्चयेन वरानने संसारावेक्षमारुता पतन्तो नरकर्णवे येन चैवोदिता सर्वे तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरा गुरुरेवा परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। हेतवे जगतामेव संसारानवसेतवे प्रभवे सर्वविद्यानां शम्भवे गुरवे नमः। अज्ञानातिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानजनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। त्वं पिता त्वं च मे माता त्वं बन्धुस्त्वं च देवता संसारानवमृतं तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। यत्सत्येन जगत्सत्यं यत्प्रकाशेन भाति यदानन्देन नन्दन्ते तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। यस्यास्त्या सत्यमिदं यद्भाति भानुरूपतः प्रियं पुत्रादि यत्प्रीत्या तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। येन चैतायते हिदं चित्तं चेतायते नयं जाग्रत्स्वप्नसुषुप्त्यादि तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। यस्य ज्ञानादिदं विश्वं न दृशं भिन्नभेदता सदेकरूपरूपाय तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। यस्य मतं तस्य मतं मतं यस्य न वेदसा अनन्यभावभावाय तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। यस्य कारणरूपस्य कार्यरूपेण भाति कार्यकारणरूपाय तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नानारूपमिदं सर्वं न केनास्ति भिन्नता कार्यकारणता चैव तस्मै श्रीगुरवे। यदङ्घ्रिकमलाद्वन्द्वं द्वन्द्वतापनिवारकं तारकं सर्वदापद्भ्यः श्रीगुरुं प्रणमाम्यहम्। शिवे कृते गुरुस्त्राता गुरुकृते शिवो नहि तस्मात् सर्वप्रयत्नेन श्रीगुरुं शरणं व्रजे। वन्दे गुरुपदद्वन्द्वं वाङ्मनश्चित्तगोचरं श्वेतरक्तप्रभाभिन्नं शिवाशक्त्यात्मकं परम्। गोकारं च गुणातीतं रूकारं रूपवर्जितं गुणातीतस्वरूपं च यो दद्य स गुरुस्मृता। अतिनेता सर्वसाक्षी अचतुर्बाहु अच्युता अचतुर्वदनो ब्रह्मा श्रीगुरुकथिताप्रिये। अयं मयाञ्जलिर्बद्धो दयासागरहृदये यत् अनुग्रहतो जन्तुश्चित्रसंसारमुक्तिभाग्। श्रीगुरुपरमं रूपं विवेकचक्षुषोमितं मन्दभाग्या न पश्यन्ति अन्धासूर्योदयं यथा। श्रीनाथाचरणाद्वन्द्वं यस्यां दिशि विराजते तस्यै दिशि नमस्कुर्यात् भक्त्या प्रतिदिनं प्रिये। तस्यै दिशि सततं मञ्जुलेशमार्ये प्रक्षिप्यते मुखरितो मधुपे बुधैश्च जागति यत् भगवान् चक्रवर्ती विश्वोदया प्रलयनाथक नित्य साक्षी श्रीनाथादिगुरुत्ययं गणपतिं पीतातयं भैरवं श्रीदुर्गं वदतं तयं पदयुगं धृतिक्रमं मण्डलं वीरान्द्याश्च चतुस्सहस्रि नवकं वीरावली पञ्चकं श्रीमन्मालिनी मन्त्रराजसहितं वन्दे गुरुमण्डलम् अव्यसे सकले सुदेव मुनिरे व्याधिपदे दुष्करे प्राणायामसुते अनेकभरणे वृत्ताकमिरुषे यस्मिन्नाभुरिते विनाशति बलिः वायुः स्वयं तत्क्षणात् प्राप्त यस्मत्परतरं नास्ति नैति नैतीति वैशति मनसा वचसा चैव नित्यमाराधये गुरुम् गुरुकृपाप्रसादेन ब्रह्म विष्णु सदाशिवः समयकाप्तभवादौ च केवलं गुरुसेवया देवकी नरगन्धर्वः पितरो यक्षचारणा मुनयोऽपि न जानन्ति गुरुशुश्रूषवेति महान्कारगर्वेण ततो विद्यावदान्विता संसारतो हरवर्ते प्रतरन्ते यथागता न मुक्तदेवगन्धर्वः पितरो यक्षकिन्नराः ऋषयः सर्वसिद्धाश्च गुरुसेवायान्मुखाः ध्यानं शृणु महादेवी सर्वानन्दप्रदायकां सर्वसौख्यकरं नित्यं बुद्धिमुक्तिविदायकम् श्रीमत्परब्रह्मगुरुं स्मरामि श्रीमत्परब्रह्मगुरुं वदामि श्रीमत्परब्रह्मगुरुं नमामि श्रीमत्परब्रह्मगुरुं वदामि ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं गङ्गातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वति साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं नमामि नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासं निराकारं निरञ्जनं नित्यमूलं शिवानन्दं गुरुं ब्रह्मणमाम्यहम् वेदं भुजे कर्णिकमध्यसंस्थे सिंहासने संस्थितदिव्यमूर्तिं ध्यायेत्तं चन्द्रकलाप्रकाशं चित्तसमाधिसमारम्भम् श्वेतम्बरं श्वेतविलेपपुष्पं मुक्ताविभूषं मुदितं त्रिनेत्रं वामाङ्गपीठस्थितदिव्यशक्तिं नन्दस्मितं सङ्गमुखानन्दम् आनन्दमानन्दकरं प्रसन्नं ज्ञानस्वरूपं निजबोधयुक्तं गुरुलिङ्गमेकं गौरववेद्यं श्रीमद्गुरुनित्यमहं नमामि यस्मिन् स्थिते स्थितिध्वंसा निग्रहानुग्रहात्मकं नित्यं पञ्चाभुजं शाश्वतं भासते तं नमाम्यहम् प्रातःशिरासि शुक्लाम्बे द्विनेत्रं द्विभुजं गुरुं वायुजयुतं सन्तं स्मरेतं नमोपूर्वकम् न गुरुरधिकं न गुरुरधिकं न गुरुरधिकं न गुरुरधिकं शिवशासनका 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 इदमेव शिवं इदमेव शिवं इदमेव शिवं इदमेव शिवं मम शासनतो मम शासनतो मम शासनतो मम शासनः एवंविधं गुरुर्ध्यात्वा ज्ञानमुत्पाद्यते स्वयं तत्सद्गुरुप्रसादेन मुक्तोऽहमि भावये गुरुर्वचित्तमार्गेण मनः शुद्धिं तु कारयेत् अनित्यं कण्ठेत् सर्वं यत्किञ्चिदात्मगोचरम् येयं सर्वास्वरूपं च ज्ञानप्रमाण उच्यते ज्ञानमेव स्वयं कुर्यां ज्ञानवन्ताधीयता एवं श्रुत्वा महादेवी गुरुनिन्दां करोति यः स Rohi darsana
Sadhguru Nath Maharaj Ki Jai. Welcome everybody to Kashmir, Walden, New York State. That chant was really something. So today we continue with the study of the Guru Gita, Shri Guru Gita. But first of all, let's chant the introductory mantras or adoring the Guru, which is the true name of that hymn. Nityanandaya Gurave Shidya Samsara Harine Bhaktakarye Kadehaya Namaste Chitsaranmane Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachidananda Murtaye Nisprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Om Sahana Bhavaktu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vivichavahe Om Shanti 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 Sadhguru Nath Maharaj Ki. The idea to study this text is to really get into them and make them part of us. So to imbibe them, and for that we need to contemplate. And so, as always, I was looking for the meaning of this word, contemplate, and I found something that was interesting for me, and I really hope it will be interesting for you as well. So in ancient Rome, when somebody wanted to have their fate read or know the future, they went to a sage. And the sage drew shapes on the sand, different types, different sizes, like a map. And then he would assign the different aspects of the question to marriage and money, business, health, etc. So he would lay it out there on the sand, knowing what each one of the forms or templates meant. And it comes from the Latin templum, which means exactly to define by lines, to limit, to concentrate, to contemplate. So then he would, on the sky, figure those same shapes in the same place, because they would think that as above, so is below. So they, in a way, so to speak, they projected that map on the sky, and then they waited for the birds to fly. And depending on the breed of the birds, and depending on the sound of their voices, which each bird has different voices, and different voices in different times of the day as well, so they would know the future. And also, if the birds flew east, then it would be auspicious. And if they flew west, they would be nefarious, so to speak. So that is the beginning of the idea that one has to, when studying scriptures, or practically, as we will see as this talk advances, everything we do, we have to bring it to a space where we can really concentrate and receive, so to speak, the message from the birds. So in the Guru Gita, I found 7 verses that contain the words contemplate, and I thought it might be a good idea to go over them and see what we can get from that. The first one is number 21. 21, it says this. It says, the supreme state is easily attained to contemplate me. The supreme state, which is a state we're all looking for, because there are several states, the waking state, the sleeping state, the deep sleep, and the other state that is the fourth state, But if we study a little more of Shaivism, then there's one that is beyond that. So there's really not an end. I feel like it's something when you open, something in the ocean, and you can see so far that it creates waves, but there are more waves we cannot see, right? So the fourth state supposedly is called Turiya. But the other state, Turiya Theta, and I'm not going to continue because there's a whole study of the states that go beyond the fourth state. So the supreme state is easily attained by those who contemplate me. And this, what happens is that we need to remember at all times what Baba says. If everything in reality is Shiva, why don't we at all times see it as Shiva? It's so much more difficult, it's so much more complicated to see it as something else and then try to make it into a mold of what we think in our mind, in our limited mind, that would be Shiva. That's not the idea. The idea is, as he said in Secret of the Siddhas, that we need at all times remember and know and realize that that is us. So are we capable of reading it like this? The supreme state is easily attained by those like me who contemplate me with one pointed focus? Because there's nothing else that we can see. When we see, when we perceive with the senses, the only thing we're seeing are reflections or memories of those things inside of us anyway. Like, for example, it's a very typical example. We see something bigger than this. That would be a flat surface of wood and with 4 legs, no? If we put a tablecloth on it, then we call it a table. But if we put a mattress on it, then we call it a bed. And then if we sit on it, we call it a bench. So nothing in reality has a definitive identity, but we put the identity on things, which from there gives us this very, very important point that the sages of Kashmir said, nothing is as you see it. They say the world is as you see it. Well, parentheses, not always. Because what we see comes determined and tainted by previous experiences. And we are not seeing it in the present moment. We're seeing it with the lenses of the past. So if it says the supreme state is easily attained, I think if Baba was here, Gurudev was here, probably they would say there's nothing to be attained. You already are that. And then he says, therefore serve the Guru with enthusiasm. So enthusiasm is another word that is not from the Greeks, that means in God or with God, and theos. The combination here is perfect because it's contemplate, concentrate, do it on one pointed focus and with enthusiasm. They said stories, for example, of Madame and Monsieur Curie, who discovered the radium, that they sometimes had to write on their busy schedules to eat, manger, no? Because they would forget to eat. They so much love their craft. They so much love their laboratories. They so much love what they were researching that they totally forgot to eat. So when somebody called them, I figured they had a sister or somebody there cooking, and they would say, the food is ready. Yes, we come in. And a whole 12 hours would go by, and they would never come to eat. So with that kind of enthusiasm, and I think it's always, when you do seva, like the chant that just finished, so wonderful. Enthusiasm changes everything, changes the atmosphere, changes the results, etc. So this is verse number 21. And it uses for the word to contemplate chintaya, which is a different word from mananam. So in the Guru Gita, there are 7 verses that I found that have the word contemplate, but the Sanskrit is not always the same word. Because one is to contemplate from different angles and using mostly the intellectual faculty or buddhi, and comparing sometimes, that's the way to do it. So you compare something with other, and then you have a result from that. It is bigger than this, it is wider than this, it is greater, it is subtle, it is everything. And the other one, mananam, means the faculty of the mind. And this is important because when we're seeing something, if we analyze it that way, it will bring us the remembrance more frequently during the day than if we just wait for the time allotted in our lives to meditate. Let's say, for example, I meditate from 4 to 5 a.m. But what happens with the other remaining 23 hours? It gives us this type of study, the opportunity, like every hour, maybe even more frequently, anything reminds us of the Shiva state that we are, and we're just trying to always remain in it. Like that song that says, always something there to remind me. So always something there to remind us of the highest state. The next one is 54. Next. And it says this, to contemplate the physical form or one's guru is indeed to contemplate the infinite form of Shiva. There again, few things more pleasant than contemplate Gurudev or Baba, Bhagavan, the saints. It's so beautiful to see them, how they are so calm and so powerful like a mountain and always blissful. It's so wonderful. But what happens when they're not around? Then we have to contemplate that in ourselves. So it says, to contemplate the physical form of one's guru is indeed to contemplate the infinite form of Shiva. To chant the name of one's guru is indeed to chant the name of infinite Shiva. So when we chant it, when we speak, the same thing happens. And I found a story that Gurudev told so many years ago, I think. It is the story of Dattatreya. And Dattatreya was a saint that found himself in the forest, and he stayed there for several years. And during those years, he apparently did nothing. He just walked and thought and meditated. And when he came back to his guru, the guru asked him, do you know that by knowing which you don't need to know anything else? In other words, do you know what matters as knowledge? Do you know that by knowing which you don't need to know anything else? You don't need to study anymore? And then he says, yes, 24 gurus taught me. And you can find that in the internet. And he says that each one, for example, I remember the water taught him to flow. For example, it means something that is an obstacle, but the water doesn't see it as an obstacle. It just goes this, without making any dramas, nothing, just continues. No? And then he mentioned that, for example, the thieves also taught him that when they're doing their trade, that when they're doing their job, they are quiet and always loyal to the people in the group. So always loyal and always quiet, and they do it with total focus. And there's 24 stories of that. So if you find it, it's really, really nice. And because what it says here, the form of one's guru, in Secret of the Siddhas, Baba says that we should reach a point where by seeing the form of the guru within, we will see it in everything else, in all the forms, in all the people, in all shapes, in all situations. And the thought is, but how do we do that? So we have to continue here contemplating. And the following one is 66. And 66 says, "O goddess," this is in response to the Devi that is asking Shiva how to become that which we already are and be established in it. Having seen that you are now ready, so it took her 65 verses to get ready. "O goddess, seeing that you are now ready, I will explain how to contemplate the Guru principle." Now, to contemplate the Guru principle and to contemplate anything else, we already have studied before. We have to remember the tools that we have in the toolbox so that at the given moment when there's despair, for example, or sadness or boredom, or any of these known feelings or thoughts come, then I have this one, and then you use it. So one is for example, bhavana, which has many meanings, but one of the meanings is to be totally concentrated on something with interest. They translate it like that, with interest, and it means with devotion, with strength, with power, with focus. And there's also something called samadhi. So samadhi is when the mind merges with that which it is worshiping or knowing or studying, adoring. Then you become one of it. It must have happened to you. For example, I had somebody that I helped with their math studies long ago, when math was not so complicated as it is now, that I don't understand anything. And I remember this boy used to tell me, I don't understand the division. You know, remember you used to draw something, a number here, another little one, and how to divide the large figure by the other one. And very clearly, I remember that one day he was under the table and he came out and he told me, I understand the mathematics now. It was like he had seen an angel. And he was so happy. And we have those kind of moments frequently when we start meditating. But that is when we become one with something. Is no longer a task. You're no longer an object that is outside of ourselves. That happens to me when I translate. So sometimes I'm thinking of the translation, what does this word mean? But at the moment of doing it, it's something like I disappear in a way and be 100% there at the same time. So the trick, what we're looking to do is to remain there, right? Not to be a flash or a moment, but really to stay there. And then I found this other concept that is called samavesha. Samavesha means to get in and stay there inside, samavesha. So it's like samadhi, but it's not just a flash. It is a state in which you're so much there that you don't even notice it. That's how they explain it. They explain it in the text of Kashmir Shaivism. And I remember that when my sister was dating the person who became my brother-in-law later, and he came to the house. And when I read about Samavesha, it brought this memory to me because he and his brothers and everybody had come through that door of my house many times, in and out, meaning they had entered the house, they had been there, and they had gone back to their own. But there was a day, and before that was traditional, I don't know if it is anymore, when they come to like ask for her hand in marriage, and that was a different kind of entry. So everybody was more dressed up, everybody trying to make it light, but really serious. And the whole atmosphere was solemn, I would say, like when we do the arati. It was not just one entry, it was the entry. No, this guy is going to be part of our family. So I remember everybody sitting there, trying to make the conversation, etc. And I think this is what they mean when they speak of samavesha, that you enter in that state that we're always supposed to be, but are not aware of being there, and remain there for the duration. There are some exercises to do that, and it's very, very interesting also. So it says here, I'm going to explain to you how to contemplate the Guru principle. The Guru principle in order that the person will stay there. Now, he says in 95, this one, it's coming close to my favorite, 98, that is my favorite in the whole Guru Gita. But now we're going to see 95. It says, in the early morning, contemplate the name of the Guru, who has 2 eyes and 2 arms, who is seated in the white lotus within your forehead, and who is peaceful and endowed with the gestures that grant fearlessness. So what does it mean? It means as soon as you wake up, let this be your first thought. Let this be your first remembrance, the name of the Guru. And then he has 2 eyes and 2 arms. I interpret this that it means it's just like you. It has a form. It has eyes. It has arms. It's not something so ethereal. It really has like a form. And then it says, is sitting in a white lotus within your forehead in the third eye is always sitting there. When we receive Shaktipat, it is said that this is like a customs office, and we attain permission from our own self, really, for the Kundalini to arise and ascend and perforate, pierce this, and then a totally different reality comes to us. So I think this is what it means, the white lotus within your forehead, and who is peaceful and endowed with the gestures or the mudras, that grand fearlessness, which is this, fear not. So you can imagine that he or she is sitting there here and is dressed in white on a white lotus and with this, like that. There is a story of a woman who was also very focused, and I like it, and I'm going to tell it. I am trying to become a really good storyteller, and you are my test audience. Thank you. So this is the story of Satyavati. She was married to the son of a king, and the king was blind. And the king was blind and therefore was not actually working as a king. His son decided to go live in the forest. Because in those days, you're not a king, maybe you were a servant, and then living in the forest, you could study and you could live a peaceful life. And he went there with his wife, which called Satyavati. And she had married this person so much in love that she didn't have time to ask him or hear from him that he had taken a vow, or he was in some way cursed by some demon, that he was only going to live for 1 year. He was only going to live for 365 days, and he would drop his body right after. So when Satyavati found that, the husband told her, "You're free to leave. You don't have to stay with me. You're young and beautiful." And it's just, we were so excited, I didn't have time to tell you this little detail of my life. So now, what are we going to do? And she says, how can I love another man? It's impossible. I'll stay with you. So she stayed with him in the forest, and then a year went by, and the Lord Yama, which is the Lord of Death, and they say always carries a noose with which he binds the person and takes it to the kingdom of death. So he came, and Satyavati was there performing austerities. There are many stories in which when somebody performs austerities for 3 days, for 9 days, or for 21 days, then it's offered to a god, and the god is pleased, and the god grants him or her a boon. This is very traditional in popular stories. It's not only Indian stories, I've heard that in Mexican stories as well. So you offer some sacrifice, and then if God is pleased, he comes and says, "I'm pleased, I would like to give you something." So then she thinks very carefully, what can I do? Because the God tells her, "I will give you anything except to spare the life of your husband. Don't try that trick on me." Okay. So she's thinking, and at the end, she asks for this boon. He says, I want my father-in-law to see my 100 sons, his 100 grandsons, to be eating in the palace on golden plates. And he, because he gave his word, Lord Yama has no other resort but to grant her the boon. So in only one wish, she asks his father-in-law recuperate his sight. Then, of course, how is she going to have 100 sons? She needs the husband there. So spare the life of the husband. And then eating in the palace. There's no other ways than for the king to have been given his kingdom again on golden plates. So the whole thing is how, when I read this book, this is what Baba was saying, this is how you have to pray. You have to pray for everything. Don't ask for something, don't ask for anything, ask for everything. One way of being totally focused on the things that we are contemplating. I love this story. Then, he says here, when he is endowed with the gestures that grant fearlessness, Fearlessness really is the main quality in a seeker. When we study the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, that is called the divine qualities and the demoniacal qualities, if we remember, we gave one whole year to that 16th chapter of the Gita. And the first quality that it lists for a seeker is fearlessness. So this is what we have to say. And the way maybe to dissolve fearlessness is to stop seeing the other thing as other. When we see something that is different, naturally the mind tries to make it bigger than, smaller than, wider than, blacker one. Is from left side, he is from the right wing, or taller. The need of the mind to compare is immediate, and then it's something that could, if we like it, we could get it. We desire it, we get it, and when we have it, it contains in itself the seed of suffering. Because when we have it, there's always the fear of losing it. It can be stolen, it can be broken, it can be damaged. And we know that either the thing, the person, the relationship, or whatever is not going to be forever there, or we are not going to be there forever. So the separation is already the seed of a wish that is of a desire that is fulfilled. Therefore, when we see everything as one, logically, I imagine there's no fear. So it says, in the early morning, contemplate this guru who has 2 eyes, 2 arms, and it is sitting in the white lotus within your forehead, like dictating. This is where you could see like the driver of this vehicle, right? And endowed with the gestures that grant fearlessness. So this is 95. And then another one that bears contemplating is 98, which is by meditating on the Guru in this way, knowledge arises of its own accord. Therefore think, I'm liberated through the grace of the Guru. Not I will be liberated, I am. It's just a change there that when I have found something is difficult to do, and I often do, I think when there's the easy aspect here and the other difficult one here, but there is a space in between where you don't have to think or try. You just like leave it there, and then something happens. And this is one of the basic teachings on Kashmir Shaivism, that the moment we are in the middle of the in-breath and the out-breath, there's silence. It is said that it's impossible to stop the mind. It is not impossible. Every time we go between the in-breath and the out-breath, there is a space. There is a space of silence. There is a space of nothing, which is like the seed for everything. So with exercises with the Hamsa mantra, that is what happens. And then it says here, I vow to the true Guru, who is immersed in the bliss of the Lord, who bestows supreme joy, who is fully liberated, who is the embodiment of knowledge. We contemplate that, and then we see, okay, he is immersed in bliss. Baba says in Secret of the Siddhas, how everything being Shiva, we don't see it as Shiva. This is the main question. And that book, Secret of the Siddhas, Baba devotes 26 pages to Vijnana Bhairava, to always asking these questions. If it is this way, why don't we see it? The question is not whether it is or not. The question is how come we don't see it? How come we are so conditioned in our perception, right? So conditioned that we don't get away from it. For example, Baba said he wanted to do a meditation revolution. But the experience of us humans is that every time there's been a revolution of any kind, spiritual, political, any of those. And then we honor those revolutions. Most of the world don't work May 1st, which is Labor Day in the rest of the world, because it was fantastic. But it was not, we know that a small group of people benefited from it, and not the whole country or not the whole humanity. So when we hear the word revolution, we try to understand how can there be a meditation revolution? How can it really be? And the revolution has to happen here, where the guru is seated between the temples, speaking of contemplation, and change the color of the glasses, as he would say. So it says, is immersed in the bliss of the Lord, is immersed in bliss, who bestows supreme joy, who is fully liberated. And here when I was contemplating this one, I thought, bestows supreme joy, but what is that joy? What is that? Is that a state? It is a moment that is caused by something outside? Or by contemplating the nature, the very nature of joy, we can at all times have it, be it. Because it cannot be something that depends on external source, because otherwise it is already beginning to disappear, right? So when we chant these verses, it's like Gurudev one day said, when you chant and understand, it's a totally different dimension. Then it says, he is also the embodiment of knowledge, is beyond duality. And beyond knowledge, there are 3 levels of knowledge. So is the knower, the known, and the unknown. These are here. And the act of knowing. And Vijnana Bhairava, what he explains is, this is so interesting. Known and unknown is the same. It just depends on what is your relation to it, whether you know it or you don't know it. So when you know, you have information, and when there's something here unknown, you lack information on this, but basically the 2 of those are outside of you. They're not you. They have to become you. They have to be imbibed by you, so they become wisdom. The difference is great. So wisdom is when it's mine, when I know it for a fact, when it is my experience and it's become I. It is the case of people who speak 2, 3 languages. When it is you, then you sometimes even have dreams in several languages. When you are studying and learning and struggling with the vocabulary, it is knowledge. It is very different. We have to always aim to become wise, no? And then it says, who is like the sky, and whose state is the goal of remembering thou art that. Now when you really get into this, you say, okay, the sky, what is the sky? The sky is an illusion. So he cannot be as the sky. It means that is something big, that is something vast. But when you think that the sky is blue, it is not blue. Is this air blue? It's not. It's transparent, right? So it is an optical illusion. When there's enormous amount of atmosphere, it gives us the same illusion that is blue as with lots of water. Then when we get the water, it is clear, transparent. But in an ocean, because it's such amount of water, it appears to be blue, but it is not blue. So we start talking in some ways that are always poetic sometimes. Reading this is a great exercise. We are so lucky to be able to have the study groups, because it's not the same to try to see the whole paragraph and try to imagine what it means, but to go word by word the way it was written. Thou art that, you are that, is one of the great, it says here, Vedic sayings. And speaking of knowing, then there's also levels of knowing, like there's the gross level, like in everything in Kashmir, Shaivism, the gross level when you kind of know something, but then you understand more subtle, like when it's poetry. The subtle level of knowledge gives you a deeper kind of understanding of things, and it's like food. in a way, when you read poetry, it's very different from reading a novel. So when we know something, we have to always know, okay, this part of my information, how deep do I want to go into it? How much do I want to know of it, right? Because, for example, in the internet, when you're seeing something, it offers you more similar pieces of information where you can click. Great minds have been working for decades to find a way to make people click on that. It's true. Not in uplifting people, not in bringing the scriptures, but only to make them click on add. Then, my point is this. Let's say I'm studying something or I'm reading something, and I want to know immediately, okay, how deep do I want to go into this? Is the gross level enough for me, so my mind is not full of crap, that it can meditate better? Or do I want to go into the subtle meanings like this, when it's philosophy or poetry, something like that? And then the supreme level, when it becomes you, para, is called supreme, sublime, the utmost, the optimum. Many words that I use there is para. And then that is us. That knowledge, that information is us, and it's called wisdom. And it says in the Vijnana Vairava, it's so interesting, at some point, these three levels merge in one. So you no longer have to worry in which level it is just is. And it talks also about different states of the mind that change during the day. When we're studying something like this, if we study in the morning, at noon, at night, we see it differently. And I thought of the three gunas, and I thought maybe there's not just three gunas, maybe there's 7 gunas, because I found a reference to the Snow White and the 7 dwarfs. And those are like states of the mind that present themselves during the day, right? It's dog, we always get confused, grumpy, sometimes we are, happy, sometimes we are, sleepy, sometimes we are, bashful, depending on the situation, sneezy sometimes with the pollen, dopey, etc. So what happens here is I'm studying and I'm thinking, okay, what is this person, who is this individual that is trying to understand this? Not only understand the text, understand the individual that is trying to get at the text. That is the way to do it. Then it says on here, he is the eternal one, free of impurities and steady. So we can think that of ourselves, eternal, because the body will die, but I won't die. Free of impurities and steady, free of the malas. And then he has become the witness of all thoughts. This concept of the witness, we have seen it many times. And what it means is like you become like a camera, and then you see things, but you don't get emotionally involved in them. But you record them. Or like somebody who is a witness in a trial, supposed to be without bias, just to say or express what he or she has seen on the day when something happened. So we see it, and we learn to always take a step back in these situations and become a witness. It was one of Baba's favorite words. In his books, you find it so many times, the witness, become a witness, witness consciousness of all thoughts, beyond worldly existence and without the 3 qualities, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So we try to get beyond all these things and just to try to be the witness, but at the same time understanding the time which is fleeting, that we want to devote to anything, to something. Then I'm going to read something from The Secret of the Siddhas, where Baba talks about adharana. This is an example of how we can, in a short time, come to that space that we want to be in without having to sit down to meditate for an hour. Because, of course, the mind, no matter how busy the person is hard to control, to contemplate. So he says here, there is no sadhana that can be compared with that of the Dwadashanta. So this is our old friend Dwadashanta, that everybody tries to understand what exactly it means to put the breathing by 12 fingers, no? Is it here, etc. All siddhas have attained God in the Dwadashanta through Soham. When a yogi has equal vision, he understands the state of equality in which the dual state of prana and apama merges into a mysterious space. This again is telling us about the space between the in-breath and the out-breath. And what I feel, need to see is that in any situation there is a middle space. There is, that joy and sadness, and there is a middle space where there is nothing. And that is the space of the self. That is the space of what is. The experience is fantastic when you have to decide into something that appears to be good and something that appears to be bad, and then you don't do it, you just stay there in the nothing. Amazing things happen. I think this is a teaching here. When he says there is a secret of the Siddhas, I had this question, why is it the book called Secret? No secrets. There's only one secret. What is the secret? The secret is the point in the middle of two. This is where. So it says, when a yogi has equal vision, he understands the state of equality in which the dual state of prana and apana merges into that mysterious space, within or without, because that exercise can be done inside and outside. Along with that, in the same way, he dissolves all worldly objects into the mysterious supreme principle. So whether you like it or don't like it, between the like and dislike, there is that space, the mysterious space. And now he sees everything as inseparable from himself or herself. It's you, because this is outside of you, like the known and the unknown. This is something that they specify and make great emphasis. The known and the unknown is the same, because whether you know it or you don't know it, so something worth to remember, it is outside of yourself, so it is not you. It's something that has a relationship with this individual, but it's not become you, because when it does, then there is no known or unknown. Am I being clear? Yeah. And then he says, now he sees everything as inseparable from himself. By having this expanded vision of equality, he attains the supreme state. So, to attain something, as he said, that we already have, but we don't know it, we don't remember it. We have to get all these tools to always remember what is happening. And the final part of my contemplation today is, maybe we are afraid of letting go of the space and experience that we know very well. Because it's more comfortable to say, I have to meditate every day for 1 hour because my karmas, because my dharmas, because my gunas, because my tattvas, because I am this limited self full of all these things, and I'm full of knowledge, but I am this limited self totally controlled by all these things, no? Like my zodiac sign, the tattvas, etc. So everything which is outside of myself, okay? So I think we have to be a little bit like Alexander the Great. Remember Alexander the Great was this great emperor that almost conquered the whole world. And there is a story that in the capital city of Lycia, in those years when Alexander wanted to be the emperor of the whole world, he went there and he found a knot. And it was a knot made of rope and covered with tar, almost impossible to undo, okay? And then when he came to that town, they told him, whoever is able to undo this knot will be the emperor of Asia, because Asia was also controlled by one person. So he came and took a look of this knot, which in our case, I feel, would be the knot of I have all these karmas, all these dharmas, all these tattvas controlled by the gunas. Oh, God, what I'm going to do? And he took his sword and cut the knot in half, and at that moment, they made him the emperor. And I think what this is, maybe he used to be just Alex, and then he became Alexander the Great because of that. And the frame of mind that one needs to really decide to cut the knot, to cut the limitation. Do we really want to do it? Do we really dare to do it? It's going to be something very different, some experience. One day, Gurudev was talking about it, and this is the final phrase of my talk today. He was talking about that state, no? And he started relating how, he says, things look very different. They look like scintillating, and he stopped himself, like, I'm saying too much. And he says, but don't be afraid. When it comes, don't be afraid. So let us not be afraid. Let's go for it. Thank you. Sagurnath Maharaj Ki Jai. Sadgurunath Maharaj ki jai. So this was our Sunday Satsang for today, June 13. Thank you very much for being here, wherever you are, here in person. around the world. And the announcements are this. So on Saturdays, we have gone back to Dana's workshop on Kashmir Shaivism. It is not in person, it is virtual. So we invite everybody who wants to finish that study of the Shiva Sutras. We already did 2 parts, and this is the 3rd part, and it's very, very incredible. It is the highest. And it is said that even Adi Shankaracharya, I don't know, it's a legend, but they say when he went to Kashmir, he called it Vidya Pita, which means the center or the seat of knowledge. Is Kashmir Shaivism, the opportunity that we have here to study this from somebody who practices, and also decades of sitting down and contemplating, it is really, really wonderful. So then on the 20th, there is the video of Larry Walensky's interview with Gurudev. It is very interesting to see that each person brings different types of answers from Gurudev, no? They ask him different type of questions according to what is in their area of interest. And Gurudev always has the perfect answers for everything. So don't miss it next Sunday, June 20th. And then on the 26th, there is a Dharana's workshop. And I would like to just say something very quickly. The Dharanas were created like 1,000 years ago, and I'm not exaggerating, in the year 900 or 1,000, kind of. And we're studying from a book that narrates the philosophy behind the exercises of the Dharanas. So we do it, we practice, it's gonna be very experiential. It's not just studying, it's just we're gonna feel it, we're gonna do it. And I think it's gonna be very fun. And the first part of the Dharanas, or the Yuktis, have commentaries by one of the greatest teachers of Kashmir Shaivism, which is Kshemaraja. So we take from all of that knowledge and we bring it to today. We bring it to our reality. It will be from 10 a.m. to 12:30, and it includes lunch. And then on Sunday the 27th is Kirtan, so we immerse ourselves completely in the music. And that would be the end of the month of June. And then there will be only 1 more month before Gurudev comes. So nothing gets better than that. Thank you very much. Now I invite everybody to come up for darshan, and then lunch prasad here in Namaste or in your own homes. Enjoy. See you very soon. Sadhgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai.